Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Puri Vrajakacharya Astotar Satashri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mayi Ki Jai Jamuna Mayi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna and welcome everyone to Srimad Bhagavatam with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami. It is Tuesday, April 15th, 2025 in New York. and we are in the fourth canto, 13th chapter, and someone will need to let me know what verse we are starting with, since I wasn't able to attend our last session. Hare Krishna. Oh, Hare Krishna Maharaj, you're muted, unfortunately.
Are we at 4:13:25? Yes, that's where we are.
All right. Srimad Bhagavatam 4:13:25. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Maitreya Uvacha. Angoshvamedhang Rajarshir. Ajahara Mahakrutum. Na Jagmur Devatas Tasmin. Ahuta Brahmavadibihi. Sri Maitreya replied, "My dear Vidura, once the great king Anga arranged to perform the great sacrifice known as Ashvamedha. All the expert brahmanas present knew how to invite the demigods, but in spite of their efforts, no demigods participated or appeared in that sacrifice." A Vedic sacrifice is not an ordinary performance. The demigods used to participate in such sacrifices, and the animals sacrificed in such performances were reincarnated with new life. In this age of Kali, there are no powerful brahmanas who can invite the demigods or give renewed life to animals. Formerly, the brahmanas, well conversant in Vedic mantras, could show the potency of the mantras. But in this age, because there are no such brahmanas, all such sacrifices are forbidden. The sacrifice in which horses were offered was called Ashvamedha. Sometimes cows were sacrificed, Gavalampa, not for eating purposes, but to give them new life in order to show the potency of the mantra. In this age, therefore, the only practical yajna is Sankirtana yajna, or chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra 24 hours a day. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Prabhupada makes the point in the purport that the only sacrifice that has any efficacy in the age of Kali is the Sankirtan Yajna. And the only practical yajna is Sankirtan Yajna, or chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra 24 hours a day. So there we get a different angle on the vision of what the yajna actually entails. Not just casual chanting, but chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra 24 hours a day. Hare Krishna. Srila Vishwanath has no commentary on this or the subsequent verses. Maharaj, would you like to say anything here? You're muted, Maharaj.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtachadesha Tarini Vanshakol Patirubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Well, the Prabhupada wanted 24-hour kirtan. At least in Vrindavan, he was very keen on it. And as far as possible in all of our centers, there should be 24-hour kirtan. This is an old instruction from many, many years ago. From point of view, we have 24-hour kirtan because all around the world, there's kirtan going on in one temple or another temple. So when it's midnight in New York and there's no kirtan going on, then it's 4 o'clock in the morning someplace else, and the Mangalarti kirtan is about to get started. So from that point of view, we have 24-hour kirtan. Ideally, we would have it in every location. The problems of the other kind of Vedic sacrifices, we don't need to dwell on. We know how precise and technical they are, and we're aware that even the slightest discrepancy can make the whole performance fail. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Ross Prabhu says, Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Did any locations have 24-hour kirtan during Prabhupada's time? And how did he set that up, if so?
He instructed that we should do it. This is around 1969 or 70. I was in Boston at the time, and he sent this instruction around. And I remember we tried to do it. Have 1 or 2 people at least chanting. So, you divide it into shifts, and but it just proved unsustainable with the people that we had. So, and Prabhupada didn't insist, no, you must do it by any means, but he wanted it. During his lifetime, I don't think we had it anywhere, but afterwards, Indra Prabhu succeeded in instituting 24-hour kirtan in Vrindavan. I think that's right. I don't think we were able to do it in Prabhupada's presence. They tried, but it didn't happen. So that was accomplished by Indra Prabhu. And still it's going on. And in Prabhupada's Bhajan Kutir in Mayapur, there's 24-hour kirtan, which is very nice.
Maharaj, it also occurred to me how at various times during Prabhupada's manifest pastimes, when he was experiencing a health crisis of one sort or another, there were at least 2 instances where he made it clear that the devotees really could and should chant 24 hours a day, at least during that particular time.
Yeah, then we did it. Yes, you're right.
I was just reflecting, I don't know if this is something you'd care to speak on further, Maharaj, but this whole notion of chanting mantras and revitalizing animals offered in sacrifice, it's so foreign to the contemporary mind, especially the contemporary mind that is outside of Vedic culture or even the vestiges of Vedic culture. The idea of someone saying a mantra or a magic word and having something tangibly take effect on the physical plane is really now relegated to the stuff of legends, myths, fairy tales, etc. And I think the farther away we get from the Vedic era, these things are even more incomprehensible. I know that there have been certain scholars that speak about, there's one book called Understanding Mantras. And I think the introduction to that book, the person who wrote it flat out states, we do not believe in magic. We have a problem with these things.
Well, certainly we do have experience that sound has power. Apart from the weaponization of sound, we hear that the military has contemporary weapons that can essentially blow the enemy away by sound. Apart from that, sound has performative power, uttered by the qualified person. There's power in the words, I sentence you to hang from the neck until dead. That will result in a very tangible result. Even the emperor in Rome, he didn't even have to say anything. It would just be this or this, and that would do it. So, but certainly sound has power. Certainly sound has power. I now pronounce you man and wife, and has power when the right person says it. So the idea that one word can do something, one word on an appeal denied, that can be a death sentence too. So I don't know why this idea that words don't have power, but of course it's a different context here, but it just means they don't know how to do it. Sound certainly has power, but they don't know how to harness sound to do these things. They know that sound has power. They just don't know how to do it. And so for them, it's mythology. Anything they don't understand is mythology, is magic. But these things are there. Even people chant a mantra and they give up. They wind up giving up intoxicants, gambling, meat eating, illicit sex. And sound has power.
Yes. Thank you, Maharaj. Saraswati Mata says, Pranams Param Puji Maharaj and all the Vaishnavas. Is there a reason that only animals like cows and horses are sacrificed here?
I don't know why they're particularly selected. I suppose in a demonstration, you don't want a mosquito or something. You'd be hard to see much, but I don't know.
Saraswati Mata, would you like to read our next verse? Are you able to read today?
I should apologize and say that I'm going to have to drop off in a few minutes. I've got like once in a month conflicting Tuesday engagement, but I'll stay on as long as I can.
Thank you for being with us, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Text 26. Tamachur vishmatastatra yachamanam atartavijah havimshi hayumat mananani nate grananti devataha. The priests engaged in the sacrifice then informed King Anga, O king, we are properly offering the clarified butter in the sacrifice, but despite all our efforts, the demigods do not accept it. Would you like me to continue?
Yes, please, Mata, until we get to a purport. That would be great.
Text 27. Rajan havimshi adustani shraddhaya yastitani te chandamshi yata yamani yojitani dradvrataha. Translation: O king, we know that the paraphernalia to perform the sacrifice is well collected by you with great faith and care and is not polluted. Our chanting of the Vedic hymns is also not deficient in any way. For all the brahmanas and priests present here are expert and are executing the performances properly. Purport: It is the practice of the brahmanas conversant with the science to pronounce a Vedic mantra in the right accent. The combination of the mantra and Sanskrit words must be chanted with the right pronunciation, otherwise it will not be successful. In this age, the brahmanas are neither well versed in the Sanskrit language nor very pure in practical life. But by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can attain the highest benefit of sacrificial performances. Even if the Hare Krishna mantra is not chanted properly, it still has so much potency that the chanter gains the effect. Om Gyanan Timirindasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So the brahmanas are admitting that as far as the sacrificial ceremony is concerned, everything that is needed and required to attain success has been executed perfectly, from pronunciation of the mantras correctly to gathering all the paraphernalia that's needed, and yet they're not getting the result that they're expecting. And Srila Prabhupada makes it quite clear that the brahmanas during the Satyuga and Treta Yuga, but definitely not in Kali Yuga, are so expert that this kind of a yajna can be performed. Neither are there the sort of resources and the quantity that would be needed available. So in Kali Yuga, the only yajna that we have been prescribed, and which is really very easy because it doesn't require one to have the ability to pronounce anything accurately, but an honest attempt to chant the Hare Krishna mantra will deliver all success. And there's so many references made about this recommendation. Kali Kale Nama Rupa Krishna Avatara. We know that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to propagate the Sankirtan movement, and Krishna has descended in the form of his name. Also, there's the other quote, Kali Kale Dharma Krishna Nam Sankirtan. This is the only dharma for Kali Yuga. And I was reading today in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was asked about the duties of specifically householders. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declared that whoever chants the holy name of Krishna, even just once, is worshipable, and he is a topmost human being. And Srila Prabhupada expanded that any devotee who believes that the holy name of the Lord is identical with the Lord is a pure devotee, even though he may be in the neophyte stage. And a neophyte devotee, Srila Prabhupada continues, is superior to any karmi or gnani because he has full faith in the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. He knows that the holy name of Krishna is Krishna personified in sound, and therefore perfectly transcendental and eternally liberated from all material contamination. And that even a chandala, even a person who's in the lowest caste, can chant the holy name of the Lord and be delivered. So in one sense, chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is quite easy because one can chant it under any circumstance. There's no special time or place or anything, any of that. That's required. One can chant anywhere at any time, and even if done so imperfectly, all success can come to that devotee. Hare Krishna.
Jai, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Let's see. Yes, thank you very much. It looks like Maharaj had to leave our meeting just now. Mata, there was a point that I was wanting to make, or see what you had to say about what we're seeing here in the case of the priests and Anga's sacrifice being frustrated in their attempts to call the Brahmins or even get them to attend the meeting. It's another example of what I seem to see to notice over and over again. When we were hearing before we got to this point in the narrative, there was a listing of the various descendants of Dhruva Maharaj, and it goes on for a while until we get to this point where there's some problem, there's some discrepancy in the matter of performing this sacrifice. And it seems like this is a recurring theme in the Bhagavatam, that what we see often are these points of conflict or trouble that have to be troubleshot in some particular way. Like in this case, we see that the calamity that ensues from Vena's kingship results in ultimately Prithu Maharaj appearing. So I don't know if that's something that you'd want to comment on any further, but I just thought it's interesting. You see these instances where something's not quite right, and then things get made right by the grace of Krishna and his devotees.
I was actually thinking about that in our local Bhagavatam class. I was mentioning that how there's a silver lining in the life of a devotee when they work through these calamities. And I was specifically talking about like the Pandavas, everything that they had to go through, starting from their childhood. And, I was remembering Bhima, how he was given poison when he was a child and thrown into the water. And I think it was Vasuki, the king of the serpents, who had the poison extracted, and Bim was given this nectar that would give him each bowl that he drank gave him the strength of 10,000 elephants. So despite this reversal of being poisoned and thrown into the water to drown, he came back stronger than ever. So, it's just that these reversals that we see, when they were burnt the attempt was made to burn them in the Lakshagriha, and then they sort of lived for a while incognito. And yet what happened was Arjuna won the hand of Draupadi. So we see that for a devotee, despite having these reversals, there's a silver lining in their cloud, whereas we don't see that so at all for the demons, because these devotees are connected with Krishna. Krishna is looking out for them. So in the end, they actually get something good happen despite whatever is thrown at them. Whereas for the devotees, it's bad news for the demons, it's bad news right from the start. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. All right, so let's see. I'm looking for if there's Srila Vishwanath does not have any commentary for text number 27, and I'm wondering if Ross Prabhu can read 28 or 29.
Yeah, we're on 28 now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I can read both or either.
All right, thank you.
Okay, 28. Na vida meha devanam helanam vayam and api yana gunanti vagan svan yedava karma sakshina. Translation. Dear King, We do not find any reason that the demigods should feel insulted or neglected in any way. But still the demigods who are witnesses for the sacrifice do not accept their shares. We do not know why this is so. Purport. It is indicated herein that if there is negligence on the part of the priest, the demigods do not accept their share in sacrifices. Similarly, in devotional service, there are offenses known as seva aparad. Those who are engaged in worshipping the deity Radha and Krishna in the temple should avoid such offenses in service. The offenses in service are described in the Nectar of Devotion. If we simply make a show of offering services to the deity, but do not care for the seva aparad, certainly the Radha Krishna deity will not accept offerings from such non-devotees. Devotees engaged in temple worship should therefore not manufacture their own methods, but should strictly follow the regulative principles of cleanliness, and then offerings will be accepted.
Any thoughts to share from your side, Prabhu, on this?
No, Prabhu. Do you? Anybody else?
I was just thinking, Srila Prabhupada talks of our deities, Radha Krishna deities that we have in our temple. But I think that Srila Prabhupada said that although we have installed Radha Krishna deities, but for the beginners, it's Lakshmi Narayan that are accepting our worship. And that's why we do it in full opulence. And it's only like for advanced Vaishnavas that are directly worshipping Radha Krishna. Can somebody comment on that?
I don't know if this directly addresses your point, but there was when Prabhupada visited Mexico City in 1975, the devotees there had just started Radha Krishna worship. And he was checking to see how things were being performed. He wanted to see what the quality of the prasadam was. It was okay. He tested that. And then he noticed that the deities' dresses were not up to standard. And also they didn't understand how to properly separate the bhoga flowers from the prasadam flowers, and changes needed to be instituted. And also he noticed that on the main altar, the Radha Krishna altar, there were, of course, Radha and Krishna. And the backdrop for the altar, the devotees had painted a Vrindavan village scene, which, in itself, it may have been aesthetically pleasing and attractive and certainly a work of devotion. But Prabhupada said this is not proper, because we cannot presume to worship Radha and Krishna in our neophyte stage in the mood of Vrindavan. We need to, first of all, establish a very strong foundation in the worship of Krishna as he had just instituted in the temple in Los Angeles for Sri Sri Rukmini Dwarkadish, of Krishna in Dwarka. And so he made those points there. And he also, in direct relation to this purport here, in terms of seva aparad, he wanted a particular devotee to work under his guidance and take direction from the devotees in Los Angeles and really bring up the deity standard in Mexico City. And this devotee protested. He said, Prabhupada, I'm afraid that I'll commit so many offenses. And Prabhupada essentially said that because I have faith in you and I'm asking you to do this service, then Krishna will overlook your offenses as long as you're willing to work under my direction and make things better here. So I don't know if that addresses any of the points that you are hoping to get at in your question.
Oh, yes. And I wanted to share something. During Gaur Punim here at our temple, I was involved But I was busy with a different service, and then I was called upon to try and help make pakoras for 1,500 people. And in my heart, I didn't want to do it because I was thinking, no, I've already assigned myself to completing this task. And I went there begrudgingly. And you know what happened? What the result was to that? I ended up getting this, of all things, this zucchini skin stuck under my fingernail, and it just lodged itself so deep that by the time 12 hours later, my finger had swollen, and it was so painful. I went into the emergency ER room, sat 5 hours for a doctor to sit there. I had to get a tetanus shot. He had to literally cut off half of my nail to get this thing out. Just all that time I was there, I was just begging Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to forgive me, because that was the complete wrong attitude and feeling with which I went there. Sure, I made the batter and everything, but I was just doing it with such a negative attitude. And then come Ram Navami, I'm not a baker by any means, and I was asked to bake for 1,500 people. And if it was some other prasadam that I would have been called to make, I would have been really happy, because I'm quite good with some things, but I'm not a baker by all means. But the designated baker couldn't do it for whatever reason. First thing I did before I stepped into the kitchen was I fell at the feet of Srila Prabhupada and begged him to help me, because I don't think I could do this and it might not come out correctly. And then while I was doing that, I thought to myself, well, do I want it to come out well, just so that I won't be chastised and that I won't be given, a bad rap for having baked something that was inedible? Or am I really begging Srila Prabhupada's help because I want the deities and to enjoy this cake? So I had to sort of check myself there. But, thankfully I went in there very nervous, but the devotees, it was going to be offered to the deities at the 4:00 arti, and I was working furiously to bake this separate cake for them. Had no idea how it would turn out, but I was told afterwards that everybody enjoyed it immensely. So it's your attitude also. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yes, that relates directly to this verse, that results is what really matters. And the same pastime of Srila Prabhupada visiting Mexico City, one devotee was dispatched by Prabhupada himself to get some flowers there was going to be an initiation ceremony. And the devotee came back and he was all apologetic to Prabhupada. He said, I went out to the market and my mind was going this way and that, and I felt like I was so under the control of the material energy. And this, that, and the other thing, the devotee is going on. And all Prabhupada wanted to know was, did you get the flowers? Yes, I got the flowers. Then it is all right. So, Hare Krishna. Moving on to text 29, which actually there are a few verses without purports. And if Radhesha Prabhu is there and able, could you please read a few and let us hear what you may have to say.
Sure. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Gurudasa Jayadvaita Swami Niti Namani. I was also thinking about that verse, Bhodeva Pitarash Chatarpana Vidao Naham Kshama Kshamyatam, that, forgive me, O demigods, for my inability to offer you proper worship. Demigods, forefathers, my prayers 3 times a day, all these things. Now, wherever I sit, I just remember the greatest of the Yadus, enemy of Kamsa, and I that destroys all my sins. I think that's sufficient for me. Tadalam manye, I think that's enough. But obviously, they're in a position, the pastime we're reading now, they're in a position that they should offer proper respects to the demigods in such a way that the demigods reciprocate with it. But Srila Prabhupada's purport, he immediately takes it to our deity worship of Radha and Krishna. He doesn't waste time with demigod worship. He says the devotees, they become indifferent to these sorts of practices because we have our prescribed duties. Anyway, I was just corollary point, but text 29. Maitreya uvacha ango dvijavacha shutva yajamana sudurmana tat prashtum vyasrajad vacham sadasyang anugyaya. Maitreya explained that King Anga, after hearing the statements of the priests, was greatly aggrieved. At that time, he took permission from the priests to break his silence and inquired from all the priests who were present in the sacrificial arena. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, silence is required in the sacrifice, but he took permission to speak. Text 30. Naga chantyahuta deva nagrhnanti grahani iha sadasas pateo bruta kimavadyam mayakritam. Sadasas pateo bruta. Bruta, kindly tell me. King Anga addressed the priestly order. My dear priests, kindly tell me what offense I have committed. Although invited, the demigods are neither taking part in the sacrifice nor accepting their shares. Sanskrit is such an exact language, it's so sweet. Bruta, same thing like when Arjuna, bruhitanme, when he tells Krishna, please kindly instruct me, tell me. So the verbs take on these forms where in English you require an additional word, please tell me. In Sanskrit verbs, there's a whole class of dhatus that express this imploring, please kindly tell me, bruta. So submitting himself before the priestly order, tell me what offense, how do I correct my course? Some humility from the king, very nice. Text 31. Sadasas pataya uchu nara deveha bhavato nagham tavan manaksthitam astyekam praktanam agham yadi hedrik tvamaprajaha. The head priest said, O king, in this life we do not find any sinful activity, even within your mind. So you are not in the least offensive. But we can see that in your previous life you performed sinful activities, due to which, in spite of your having all qualifications, you have no son. The purpose of marrying is to beget a son. Because a son is necessary to deliver his father and forefathers from any hellish conditional life in which they may be, Chanakya Pandit therefore says, Putrahinam griham shunyam. Without a son, married life is simply abominable. King Anga was a very pious king in this life, but because of his previous sinful activity, he could not get a son. It is concluded, therefore, that if a person does not get a son, it is due to his past sinful life. These sections, and it's the same thing in the pastime of Maharaj Chitraketu, this inability to get a son. And even in the pastime of Maharaj Dashrath, we see this again and again, kings who are distressed by not having a son. And again, just like the previous verses we're discussing about worshiping the demigods, in this same line, devotees asked Srila Prabhupada, I think might have been Yadubar Prabhu, inquiring, what is my position if I don't have a son? Putrahinam griham shunyam. Your Srila Prabhupada translates it abominable. We know shunya means zero, as in the pranam mantra for Srila Prabhupada, shunyavadi. So griham shunyam, you have no griha. There is no home life if you don't have a son. Or as Srila Prabhupada says, married life is simply abominable. So the devotees, I'm pretty sure it was Yadubar Prabhu, but I could be mistaken, inquired from Srila Prabhupada, what do I do if my griha is shunya because I don't have a son? And I wish I could remember Srila Prabhupada's exact response, but it was consoling. He said, don't worry about it. We're chanting Hare Krishna, all these other things are not so important, especially for devotees whose efforts are toward a preaching movement. Then it's less important. When you're a king, there's a succession requirement that makes it much more important. So this, putrahinam griham shunyam is much more applicable to a king like Anga, who's feeling distressed that the demigods aren't accepting his offering. He doesn't have a proper succession plan. What do I do now? So he went to the right place and now we're going to get the appropriate response. And of course, what follows is more misfortune in the birth of Vena, but ultimately, good fortune will swing around in the end. So we won't comment too much on things to come. But in the current context, for a king, it's very necessary. He has to have a son. That's it's extremely important. So much so that what was it? Manu, one of them had to borrow a son. We were just reading. It wasn't that long ago. He said, "You have to give me your son." I think he told his daughter. Anyway, maybe someone remembers better. I'm just catching snippets in my memory, but not fully recalling properly. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, that occurred with one of the daughters of Swayambhuva Manu. Yeah, I believe. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, it's exactly like you say. The instance that comes to my mind in Prabhupada's counseling his disciples regarding their lack of a son, that may have come up numerous times in numerous contexts with different people, but I remember clear that he was speaking to Hamsaduta and Himavati about their own childless marriage, and saying that, this is not a problem because we have so much preaching that needs to go on all over the world, and if you assist each other in preaching, that will be very pleasing to me, and you needn't worry about this business of being sonless. It won't have any karmic effect on you because you're engaged in the Sankirtan yojana.
Reminiscent also of the weight of the brains, man's brain and woman's brain. It's half the weight. And Srila Prabhupada said, but for the women in our movement, they get the other half. when you're chanting Hare Krishna, it accommodates for all lacking of past sinful activity, of even material consideration. I mean, think about any of our positions. What cleanliness qualifications do any of us have to be on the altar or anything? I think about that sometimes when I'm on the altar here in Honolulu. I don't even know all the mudras and everything, and sometimes I feel a little despondent, like, oh, I should learn these things, and I still should. It's not that I should neglect it, but the more important is the bhavagrahi janardana. You're trying to do something in the service of your spiritual master, in the service of the deities, and Krishna recognizes that.
So we have a question for you, Radhesha Prabhu, since the knowledge is coming from your side at this moment. Prabhin Krishna Prabhu says, is it karmically sinful to not have children even if one can?
It becomes a heavy topic, because what is home life? What is the point of married life? Generally, there will be intimate connections between husband and wife. And so if you're intentionally blocking the result of that connection, if the process is good, then the result is good. So children generally will come from married life. And if it's not happening, then what are you doing? If your time is used in preaching, if you're, engaging properly, then it's not sinful. But if you're just using it as an opportunity for sense gratification, then it is sinful. So some, personal introspection has to be there, and you decide how quickly you want to go back to Godhead. If you want to remain in material life, then you can kamopa bhogam paramam. Then lust reigns supreme. That's the focus. So that's why Srila Prabhupada spoke so disparagingly. Well, maybe that's too soft of a word. Spoke extremely strongly against contraceptive measures. If you're in householder life and no children are coming, then it becomes a question. Then what's the value of your home life? Therefore, putrahinam graham shunyam. You should be having children for your own sake. And also having children makes one very humble. It's makes one very patient. It develops a lot of good qualities by the school of hard knocks. You're forced, where you might not develop those qualities, then you develop them very quickly. But by the same token, as Ekendra Prabhu mentioned, what do childrenless couples, what happens for them? Well, maybe Ekendra Prabhu, you're a better person to speak to that, actually. But I was thinking, if someone is engaged in devotional service, then that's the most important. But if you're remaining in householder life, especially well past the age of 50, and just having to be quite plain with it, to be having unrestricted sex life, then you're not making very much spiritual advancement. And therefore, the statements are there throughout Shastra, at least in Srila Prabhupada's purports, that advancement in householder life is practically nil. I saw that written almost in those exact words not too long ago. And when you meditate on that, what does that mean? Well, it means that generally your focus is towards sense gratification, kama, dharma, artha, kama, and hopefully at some point that dwindles, that reduces. So it's not a blanket rule, but on each individual devotee's level, introspection has to be there. How am I advancing my cause in Krishna consciousness, and where am I being distracted? So it doesn't matter whether you're a couple that has children or doesn't have children. Even couples that have children, still you should be careful. My home life isn't about sense gratification. I'm not trying to exploit my children and my wife for my own enjoyment. I'm meant to engage them in Krishna service. So if there are no children, then same thing with my wife. I'm meant to engage her in Krishna service, and hopefully she's helping me engage in Krishna service as well.
Thank you very much. If I could just extend maybe what you've already said so rightly, it ultimately comes down to a disciple's relationship with their spiritual authority. What the practical advice is for one person might be different from the practical advice for the very next person standing next to them. I'm reminded of Prabhupada telling two sannyasis two very different things in the same place at the same time. He said to one, "You are a sannyasi. Your business is travel and preach, so go." And the other sannyasi, right before him, same place, same time, he said, "You are a sannyasi, which means you have to stay here and manage the temple." So it's not a cookie cutter scenario. One has to take guidance in these very practical, heavy life commitment type decisions from one's spiritual authority. We have a hand up before we get to Priti Purnamadavi Devi's question. Saraswati Mata, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to add also, not everyone's cut out to be a parent. And I agree that having children does teach you a lot of important things like patience and tolerance as well. But I also know of cases where, there's certain cultures, of course, that they put a lot of emphasis on absolutely having a son. And therefore you have these women that have, 10, 11 children. I mean, it will turn out to be daughters, and then they just keep trying and trying. So, of course, there's got to come a point when, you have to say, well, it's not in my fate to have a son. And, in some cases, they even, they even have abortion when they realize that a woman is carrying a daughter. They find out the gender. And then there's all these atrocities that continue. But I'm just thinking, if somebody is asked to have, a woman's asked to have 10, 11 children, that's not very healthy either in today's age. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mata. Priti Purnamadavi Devi says, so many devotees leave their bodies in such a glorious manner, with devotees association, Sankirtan going on at the time of death. Even having a son may not give them this glorious opportunity. Also, there is one deity of Lord Krishna who performs Shraddha ceremony for his devotee. Radhesh Prabhu, any comments on that?
Yeah, never mind not having a son. How about having a rotten son? Instead of putra is mutra. So we're about to see a good example of how having a son doesn't necessarily bring all that much joy. Same thing with Chitraketu. He'll be a source of great joy, but he'll be a source of great suffering. So everything in the material world is rotten. You have a son or don't have a son, it's all miserable. But either way, you engage in Krishna's service, and everything yogakshemam vahamyaham. Whatever is lacking, he provides. Oh, I'm lacking a son. Well, don't worry about it. Krishna's got you in some other way. Everything that's lacking. Not that it's easy. And that's another thing, it's the whole spiritual bypassing thing. It's a funny thing, because on one hand, it is ultimately our whole philosophy. You do your best, and then in the end, you throw up your hands and say, okay, now Krishna, it's up to you. But while doing our best, there's a lot of inconveniences that really take a toll on us. And yeah, it's not necessarily that you can just chant the pain away unless you're in a very advanced position. So for devotees who require something, and this may not just be the son topic, it may, like in Chitraketu's case, like losing a son. Wow, what a heavy experience, And so you can philosophically address it, but the devotee might need some sort of material support. So yeah, like you said, Mataji, it's so wonderful to see devotees leaving with kirtan surrounding them. But yeah, having a son doesn't necessarily equate to having that child's presence chanting by your side. So therefore, son or note, like Srivas Thakur, when he lost his son, then because he was so sober about it, because he was chanting and so surrendered, Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, they said, we'll be your sons. So if you don't have anyone there chanting for you, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he'll be there for you. Srila Prabhupada will be there for you. And you make your life about surrender, and you have that guarantee. Yeah. One time surrendering to the Lord. Abhayam sarvada tasmai tavasmiti chiyat dadami etadvritam mama. I give you that firm vow that you'll be freed from all fearful positions, and death is certainly a very fearful position. I think I mentioned it in the Sangha. One of my close friends, his father was a senior Prabhupada disciple and preached his whole life, we're fearless at the time of death, but when the actual moment came, it was something else. It was a very difficult experience for him. So I think, yeah, we enter into these topics with great caution. Son or no son, it's a positive progressive path in spiritual life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And Praveen Krishna Prabhu says, at least have a son with the name Narayan. And then Saraswati Mata wants to know, was it Govinda Ghosh's deity that performed his Shraddha? I don't know that. We'll have to look that up. But in the meantime, we were wondering, since Radhesha Prabhu, you're here with us today, would you kindly agree to chanting our pain away for the last few moments of this class?
Chant the pain away. Why not? Yeah, this is our one-stop solution, the universal panacea, the Maha Mantra. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakaacharya Stotra Shata Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakaacharya Stotra Shata Shishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gokopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Radhesha Prabhu. Thank you everyone so much for being here. Maharaj doesn't have a double booking tomorrow, so we're looking forward to being able to hear from him again tomorrow. And yes, in fact, we are confirmed in that Govinda Ghosh question from before. Yes, it was Govinda Ghosh's deity, and Prabhin Krishna Prabhu further offers that one can still visit the temple of Gopinath, his deity. It is a big local festival on his disappearance day. Thank you so much, Prabhin Krishna Prabhu. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami and friends Ki Jai.
Jai.
Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Hope to see you all tomorrow, if not sooner. Hare Krishna.